This is a special town council meeting of North Branford, Connecticut, on Tuesday, May 26, 2020. Can be viewed on Totucket TV Facebook Live, starting at 7 o'clock, which it is now. And I just wanted to read in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7-7B regarding COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting will be held remotely with no in-person attendance. I want to say one thing. I want to say too. This meeting is for the town council to speak to Mark Chapman about the bond presentation. And if everyone let us talk. And I don't think there's any. And Mike, you might want to jump in on this, Mike Paulus. I don't think there's any public participation. Is that the way it's going to work, Mike?
Unfortunately, there's no public comment in terms of that was an oversight, and I can't have you amend the agenda. But I think if you had to, you could within the presentation. If you had to take leave of the chair to ask a question, I think the council has every right to do that.
Okay. All right. Everybody's certainly welcome to listen what's going on here. And let's start with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Michelle, roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Viglione.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Zampiano.
Here.
Councilor Angeloni. Here. Councilor Diamond. Here. Councilor
Here.
Councilor Fawnin.
Here.
Councilor Gold.
Here.
Councilor Paternoster.
Here.
Councilor Policia.
Here.
Okay. Very good. First thing I have is the town manager's report, COVID-19 update.
Yeah, I'll be real brief. The numbers have increased slightly overnight. 8 new cases since last night, so we're up to 88. Mike Pascaselli, East Shore are obviously I don't think it's part of any spike or anything like that, but we'll continue to monitor it. So there are 8 new cases, so it brings our total to 88 with 4 fatalities. And the 8 new cases, it's an even split, 4 North Branford, 4 Northford, so geographically speaking. So we'll continue to monitor that. And I'm still working on the partial reopening plan. I'd hoped to try and get one targeted for Monday, for June 1st. But unfortunately, one of the issues there is supplies that we thought we were getting in terms of hand sanitizer and a few other things didn't come in. So I'm going to push that date back to at least the 8th. And by partial reopening, I mean a partial reopening for town hall based on appointment only. Some, other issues with respect to Parks and Recs Commission and Senior Center. I don't see them opening until after the phase, June 20th phase, specifically, of course, for seniors and using the gym or the health equipment. It's not going to happen before June 20th anyway, and I think the seniors are going to be reluctant to come back to that facility. Library is working on a curbside pickup services that they'll be implementing shortly, but I'm still working on plans with the director about when they would open to the public. So for town hall and speaking, I might target a June 8th date, but want to review with staff and talk to them about scheduling and then make sure we have the supplies ready. And also another issue of timing, there might be an opportunity to get tested before we do a partial reopening. And that is something Mike Pascaselli is working with East Shore. Mike is working with Yale and testing in other facilities in our area. That might happen within the next week or so. And if that happens, it might be beneficial for us to get the testing, because I think what they're going to do is look for antibodies in that same testing sequence. So that could help us out in terms of lowering the anxiety of opening and having appointments and so forth. So a few more things to work on, and I'll certainly report for the next meeting on June 2nd. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mike. Next I have, any questions for Mike on that? Anybody have anything? No? Okay. Next I have reservations and appointments. A is appointment of Al Rose to ad hoc design and review committee. I'll need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I got Rose and who? Marie. Michelle, did you get that? Motion made by Rose, seconded by Angeloni, seconded by Marie Diamond.
Yes, I did.
Okay, any discussion?
Just a question. I just want to be clear. Are there any committees or subcommittees of the town regarding building, design, and/or construction that Al is not a part of?
I don't think so.
Well, we want him
Bob Biglione, yeah, that's all right.
on those committees. So I don't know how this one slipped by.
Well, he's on it now after the vote.
Got a vote, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Michelle, you want to take the vote?
Yes. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay.
Okay. Number 3, next I have new business discussion and action. A is bond presentation by Mark Chapman of Hilltop Securities.
Yeah, so Mark is on the call, and Anthony as well, and I have obviously some information that I can load up on the screen. Mark, if you prefer me to do that, or do you want to open up with the sort of process of bonding and projects? I'm not sure how we want to start this.
Well, just, I don't know if you ever make sure everyone can hear me here. We're good. So just to understand, hello, thank you for the opportunity to almost join the meeting in person. So just so you understand my role as a municipal advisor, we're not an underwriter, we're not a bank that, provides the funds for this. What we do is we have a fiduciary duty for the town, and our goal is to help you obtain the lowest rates with the best terms and conditions, and also help facilitate the rating when we go to market. I work with Anthony and Michael in regards to, they let me know that there might be some projects that you're looking at and what might be the budget impact, and they ask me questions on what's going on in the market in regards to interest rates, liquidity, volume, things of that nature. And in regards to the process is typically, we present the council with budgetary impact assumptions. Council looks at it, and that there's a process from bond counsel that they'll provide you with a schedule in regards to the timing of the meetings and the procedures associated with that. That's I believe, Anthony and Michael, that's Robinson and Cole, correct? And then from that standpoint, we help prepare the official statement and help bring the town to market for debt issuance. It was kind of a quick synopsis. If I'm missing something, or if you have any questions, let me know.
All right, so why don't I load up your the presentation, and then you can have them walk through the numbers.
Okay.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll try to put that up there and then share the screen.
Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah.
When you started the meeting, am I correct? Are the board members able to ask questions or participate, or no?
No, that'll be the function of the council.
Oh, so they're on listen mode only.
Correct.
Okay, let me just make sure they're aware.
Okay, Mark, can you see that?
Yes, I had to take my off mute there.
Okay, I'll start. First tab is the cover sheet. I'm not sure we need or learn anything from there. You represent Hilltop Security, so where do you want me to go? Assumptions, projections, or the first tab?
Yeah, we can go to the assumptions. And once again, I'm not here to speak to the validity of the projects or anything. I'm just presenting numbers and interest rates in regards to if you know, that's a policy decision. That's up to you folks.
Okay.
So just to, when we started looking at this, I started looking at interest rates in the middle of April, and once again, these are assumptions. I don't think I'm being overly conservative when we look at the numbers, and I also don't feel like I'm being overly aggressive. So, obviously in this market there is some volatility based on the what's going on a day-to-day basis. If we get good news or if we get bad news from the virus perspective and vaccines and the economy. But these numbers, we had when the virus first hit us, the market, we had a pretty significant sell-off, or interest rates in the municipal market really shot up. And that was due primarily to everyone. It was a flight to quality or not even flight to quality. It was a flight to put the money under your mattress. People were they were taking money out of everything they could, and they were holding on to it and not putting it back into the municipal market in a fear that they were going to lose principal. That is sort of subsided, and it looks like we've kind of weathered that storm. And right before the virus really hit the economy, we were at the measure we use is the municipal market data, and we were at they started measuring this back in the mid to early 80s, and we were at all-time lows from that measurement perspective. We lost about 150 basis points in that 2-week period. And there's my dog. On cue. Right on cue. Okay, yes. Sorry.
That's all right.
But we've regained all that lost interest rate since then. So we're back to where we were almost pre-coronavirus disruption. So it's from an interest rate perspective, and that's where I'm speaking to. It's favorable in a cost of funds perspective. So it's from that's kind of what I'm just saying here. So the assumptions still hold true. It might be a little bit high, but if I told you where rates are going to be in a year or two, I wouldn't be. I'm making some assumptions there, and it's based on what the economists are talking, and what their data dot points and saying when they think interest rates are going to rise again. So if you want to jump to the next slide, we just jump to the projects. That's just the assumptions. From the project's perspective, so my charge was from Anthony and Michael was to, we had these three projects. We had the police station and communications, along with the high school project, and a timing when you thought this might start. So, and the other part of it was, how can we do all this and having the least amount of impact to our budget. So you serve two masters when going through this. You're looking at how can we get all this done without keeping the overall interest costs, because this is all-time lows. So let's just bond everything right away. If your budget could handle it, that's the other master we serve is the near term. So obviously we wouldn't be able to issue $40 to $50 million of bond today without it impacting your budget in the short term. So we've done a phased in approach, which kind of ties into cash flows or assumed cash flows. And so we kind of phase that in. That's what this is demonstrating. If we want to jump to the high school. Yeah.
High school.
Yeah. So you might have to minimize it a little bit, Michael. I'm not sure if everyone can see all the columns, but the gist. The gist of this slide is what I was talking about, is the phased-in approach of issuing the debt and how we can try to get down to down to fiscal 26, ideally where your debt is dropping off roughly 1.4 million. Timing is such that we can't get there, but one of the tools we use is issuing short-term notes, which are one-year notes, and the thought process would be to capitalize that interest due on those notes into the project. So versus it going to your operating budget. So it's you're borrowing on debt that you're borrowing on, but you're spreading that cost over 20 years versus hitting your budget next year. And this is all assumed cash flows. This doesn't get these numbers and these amounts are don't get finalized until the project's approved. You have architects, you get a cash flow from them, construction timeline, and then then that changes everything. But this is kind of a blueprint for what our thought processes were.
Yeah, Mark, it's Mike. I can't get everything on one screenshot. So if you just want to direct me, if you want me to go left or right in whatever column you want to look at.
Well, I think, so that's the philosophy. So it's a series of bonds and notes. So it's, I think, and we're thinking the same thing on the police station. So if you want to click on that one. So once again, we're issuing notes for the first couple of years, and then we're looking at bonding it in 2 years. So and I think the third table is that's the communications. We're thinking the same thing for that project. But if we want to go to the total combined pro forma, that I think we should be able to fit everything in one screen there. So this kind of gives you the layout of each project. So all those columns were collapsed into one column where you see the debt. And you notice in those first couple of years, there's nothing there because that's what our recommendation, so that it doesn't hit your budget in the near term, would be to capitalize those that interest due on those short-term notes in the first couple of years. To kind of, it hopefully helps us get through some of this economic stress that we're under. And even if rates go up in 2 years, I mean, we're at all-time lows. If we're bonding at under 4% in 2 years, that's still historically pretty cheap money. So, and that's where we're trying our best to get down to, fiscal 25, 26, where we have that significant drop off. So this shows a year-over-year increase or decrease in debt. So you'll see in fiscal 23, it's where it really it starts to impact the budget, and then it kind of peaks in fiscal 26, and then it starts declining with another, ultimately peaks in 28. And we could probably smooth that out as we get into it, but just trying to give you an idea of what was going on in regards to if you did all these projects at the same time and how that would impact you. Coincidentally, I think Anthony also we looked at when we were doing the middle school, what did that do to the debt service? And we were at similar numbers, roughly 5.6 million. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony. And I think as a percentage of budget, it was actually, Anthony, I don't know if you have that. I think I have that
sheet, Mike.
Yeah, I can open up that. Yep. Give me a second.
Yeah. I could speak to it as he's pulling up, but when the middle school, which was the most recent large project that the town went through, I think we peaked at 5.5 million or 5.7, and as a percentage of your budget, it was just over 11% of your budget. So now, good, bad, or indifferent, if we go to the roughly the same number, 5.8 million, that would be less than 10% of your budget. It's assumed, there was an assumption that Anthony made in regards to budgetary growth. And Anthony, was the number?
2.52% annual year-over-year growth in the budget.
So from a budgetary impact or affordability, or how does this, the purpose of that exercise was, the town has been there, I guess, and the town has managed through it. You've done it through, historically.
Just to clarify, Mark, that last span when we had the high bonds, it was actually the two libraries, the NBIS, and the Auger property that we bought. So there was those combined projects kicked us to that level.
Okay. Yep. I should know that. I drive by the libraries all the time. But yeah, so all those projects combined led to that. But it's I kind of filibustering here. I don't know if there's any questions in regards to interest rates, cash flows.
Yeah, I've got a question, Mark. Was that 11% you just quoted? Was that for the new money for the new projects, or was that total debt service for existing bond obligations plus the new bonds?
The 11% that I quoted was back in. You're right around that number for a while. Actually, it's historic numbers. So it's 2010 really through 2017, and Michael's trying to load that spreadsheet.
Yeah, I sorry to interrupt, but it should. Yeah. Can people not see that?
You're locked on Mark's.
Yeah, look, we're on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. It's circling. Yeah. So that's a historic number. That was, like I said, from 2010 through 2017. The town was roughly 11% of their budget was for debt service. That's been declining since then. And then if with these three projects, it would peak it's estimated to peak in 2028, where it'll just be over 9%. Here it is.
Can you see that now?
We can.
So if you see there, 2010 through 2018 or 17, it was roughly 11, anywhere from 10.5 to 11 0.47% of your budget. And then if you toggle down a little bit, the yellow is the
Yeah, can you scroll down, Mike?
Yeah, just give me a second.
If we can go to the left a little bit so they can see. There you go.
Okay, thanks.
Joe, in 2045, it drops to 1%.
Exactly.
Your tax,
Exactly. Just
your
don't
tax,
build anything between now and then, Mike.
your tax rate will be cheap by then, Joe.
You mean my grandchildren's?
So this takes into account your current debt service plus, these three projects, and that's the assumed, and also Anthony assumed a budgetary growth of 2.52%.
Yeah, basically averaged all the years in the top half of the illustration. You see it on the line there. 2.52 is what the average was year over year growth. That's what I used running out to the rest of the illustration.
So, can I have the floor, Bob?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Hi, Mark. This is Tom. Hey,
Hi, Tom.
can you just walk through one column to the other column to the other column all the way across and describe to everyone what we're looking at?
On the current spreadsheet?
Yeah. On any one, like the one that one. Yeah.
Okay.
That one.
So this is the tab for the communications project, the $3 million.
Yeah, do you want the total combined?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be best.
Okay. So the first three columns is your existing debt service. It's the existing principal, interest, and then the principal and interest for those two. So that's the first three columns. Column B,
Okay.
C, and
So
BC.
so if I understand this correctly, Mark, if we did nothing, then in 2031 we have no debt at the end of it, right?
Correct. No bonded debt. Yeah.
No bonded debt. I'm sorry. Yeah, correct. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Keep going. I just want to make sure.
Yep. So then the next column E, is it's the sum of all the projected debt service for the high school pro forma. So on that tab, that's all added up, and that's where those numbers came in. I was trying to put it in if I would have put it all on one tab, all three projects, it would have been, two font, and I don't do too well with that.
So that's 20 years, right?
It's actually over 20 years because you're bonding it in a series of bond issues. So it's, I think, 24 if we come down a little bit. I got it on my computer too. It's over the course of, because we're bonding it in three series, so it's 23 years.
Okay.
The police station, we're looking at, that would be over, that's going to be one bond issue, but we're having a series of note issues prior to that. So, because once again, we're trying to phase this in to give time for the budget to grow, hopefully the grand list to grow, those types of things. And also, if we took it all in at once, then your budget in 22 would go up significantly, if we bonded it right away. And the same thing with the communications project. So that's where we're doing it. Once again, our thought process was to issue a series of notes this year if things were approved this year, and then have them come due a year from now, issue notes again, and then bond it in 22, in November of 22. So that'd be fiscal 23.
Right.
And Mark, it's Mike Paulus. Is the max on the bond anticipation notes rolling? Is it 24-month cutoff? Is that as far as you can go?
Well, you can actually go 10 years with rolling notes.
Oh, wow.
But before the 36-month maturity, you have to make a 1/20th pay down. So if you don't bond it before the third year, then you have to start making pay downs, and it has to come out of budgeted funds. So we wouldn't be able to. The other thought here is we were deferring principal for a couple of years because, once again, we're trying to push this out as far as we can so that it's not hitting you all at once.
So Mark, did we get to column H yet?
No. So column H is the addition of column D, E, F, and G. The sum of those is column H.
And what does that represent?
That is your current debt service and all projected projects.
So that's principal and interest?
Correct.
Okay, so so not only are we paying the interest of what it's costing us to borrow, this is interest and principal and interest, so we're starting to pay down. We're not just paying interest here.
You wouldn't make your first principal payment until I believe it's fiscal 26. I'm looking at my laptop and I'm trying to click on it and Mike's controlling. I apologize.
Well, the only reason why I asked that is it says P and I.
Yeah, so that's principal and interest, but you're not making your first principal payment until fiscal 25, 26, row 18.
So all that other is just interest.
It's just interest, correct?
Okay.
Well, wait a minute, Tom. You might be confusing in 2019, 20, or 2021. That's principal and interest on existing debt.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you, Joe. That makes more sense. Okay.
Right. So we don't start paying principal on the new debt until 2026. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. You can keep going.
And then column I is just the year-to-year difference. So assuming you capitalize all the short-term interest, these three projects would not impact your current debt service budget. Where it would start coming to play would be in fiscal 22, 23. So a year-to-year increase would be roughly 168,000. And then the next year it's 582, then 600 year-to-year change. And, this is just one way of doing it. If we wanted to start paying principal right away, then that number wouldn't just be 582,000. It would be, closer to $1 million. And once again, like as I mentioned before, we're trying to lessen the year-to-year impact at the same time as still trying to capture the low interest rate environment we're in right now.
So then the column J, the percentages. So there you're showing, it's increasing and then it starts to decrease the debt service.
Right. That's the year-to-year. Instead of it being a dollar figure, it's a percentage. So the increase from 21 to 22 is 4.5%. That 168,000 is 4.5% year-over-year increase for debt service.
I think I'm on a spreadsheet. I keep trying to scroll down.
I'm doing the same thing.
Just tell me, you want me to scroll down? I'll scroll down.
I keep wondering why my screen keeps getting smaller. Okay. I mean, I just wanted, that explains. Thank you, Mark. And I think it hopefully helps other people too.
Were there any additional questions or?
Mark, it's Mike again. So in the column H, the peak ramp up is 2728 at 5,859,173.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's when on a percentage of the projected budget, that would be 9.1% of your budget versus in today, I believe it's 6.4, 6.5. Or next projected budget, I should say.
Mike Paulus, it's Ron Policia. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I couldn't see myself. I couldn't tell if I was still muted. Can you bring up Anthony's sheet one more time and just scroll to the bottom where the numbers were in yellow?
Sure. Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah, so when we're figuring percentages, is that accurate that so row F or column F, that's the estimated annual budget?
Correct. It's figured on a 2.52 year-over-year increase in the budget. So you see the 21 number, the 53,597. This is without counting in capital fund balance. This is strictly the taxpayers paying. So that 53,597 next year, if all things are the same, would be 54,948.
So in the previous spreadsheet, when you're figuring out percentages, what you're estimating the percentages to be, is it based on these numbers?
No, that was the year-over-year increase. So if it went up 100,000, it was 4%. Just purely debt service, just looking at debt service. It did not take into account the entire budget. This illustration from Anthony's looking at the entire budget.
I got you. And we really think our budget's going to go up that much?
Well, if you slide up, Mike, on that page, the 2.5% is the average over that span. You'll see, some months it was one, couple years it was negative. Earlier on, it was 5.5, 4. So, yeah, the 2.5 could be aggressive. Again, it's just a historic average over the span of this illustration. I could certainly bring the numbers down to 2 or 1 3/4 to see what the percentage plays out to be.
Do we, I know it's a tough question, but do we know the total effect on the mill rate or not? Based on the projections?
No. I could try to work some numbers into the calculation to the assumed grand list growth. That'd be another assumption, obviously, of what the grand list is and corresponding mill rate, and then see what the impact would be. I could certainly talk to the assessor and, even if again went conservative there and did 0.75% annual increase over his current net grand list, and then run that out through the same time frame, give you an idea what the mill rate would be, and then again, speculative using these numbers, and then you can see what the actual mill rate change would be year over year. I can certainly do that, incorporate that into this spreadsheet.
Yeah, Anthony, this is Mike. One of the other big assumptions is going to be, the other wild card is going to be state funding revenue. So I have to make an assumption on that.
True. True. This just takes into the account the total budget. That doesn't show.
This is debt service or just
the debt,
expenditures, right?
Yeah. But your point is valid though. If the state money diminishes, then more will fall into the taxpayers. You're right. That would be some assumption of what the state funding will be. You're correct.
I think we all realize it's just estimates at this point, but we're just, I think many of us are just looking for some ballpark figures just so we know. We want to be able to, we want to have an idea of what the effect on the taxpayer is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, can I have the floor? It's Walter Goat.
Sure, well, go ahead. It's all yours.
Hi, Mike and Anthony. Are we expecting to take in any extra revenue in the past 5 years from any major part of the town?
Walter, this is Mike. It's hard to project, but if we have a major development like what we've got over there on Fowler Road, if they start actually sticking a shovel in the ground and building 200 units, there's going to be some revenue there. Again, we can look at some other projects. That's the only one that really comes to mind at this point in terms of being sizable. And I can have Dave, Ambrose run some numbers.
And we're not going to be able to have any like general numbers to be able to tell a taxpayer tonight, like what their tax rate would go up, like ballpark for the average person. We're not going to be able to provide some sort of number tonight for that.
I wouldn't be able to right now. It's really because there's so many other variables. I don't know, Anthony, if you want to tackle that.
It'd be wish list to even try.
Yeah.
Right. Well, like I said, the state aid is a big variable. The grant list growth is going to be a variable. So there's going to be a lot of speculation. But I could throw something together, throw some of the variables in there, and run out different scenarios. I could reduce the year-over-year growth on the bottom line of the budget. Be a little more conservative on that. Bring it down to, 1 3/4, 2. See the different numbers, how it plays out. And then we can kind of work some numbers together as far as what the mill rate is currently, what the mill rate impact would be. Give you a ballpark idea. But as Councilor Duty just mentioned, there's so many variables. You're gonna put numbers out there that may come back to not come to fruition and cause more harm than good.
Too much speculation.
Exactly. Too many things up in the air.
Well, I think you have to. Because what you have to do is put it together and qualify it. Each item that how you got to it. How you came to the number, what the assumption was. I mean, the only way to predict the future is the past, right? So
Right.
We know state funding is going down at a certain percentage. I mean, I think we've seen that that spreadsheet at some point, that each year it's been going down, down, down. So we know that there's certain things that you just have to make an assumption. What's our grand list growth been the last 10 years? So you project that out 10 years, and just qualify it so that everybody knows where the number came from.
Okay.
I think even if you were able to give like worst case, best case, and then somewhere in the middle, just to like I said, give us an idea.
What if you just based it on like a $300,000 home and just go by the past 5 years performance?
Okay.
Yeah, and Anthony, I can help you with that. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to have it for the meeting that we're in right now. But we can kind of break it down and say it's $100,000 assessed house, and then people can multiply from there, or we can pick the median price value of a home in the town, and kind of as an example, so that folks can gauge.
Mark, it's Bob Biglione. I don't think we need it tonight. I think you guys should take your time and give us the best idea that you can. So we can present it, we'll know and present it to the people.
Okay.
In the town. I think it's important for them to know what's going on here too. So just take your time and let us know.
Oh, yeah, Anthony, we can
short notice tonight.
Anthony, we can circle back and put that together and send it around.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We have any other questions for Mark? Anthony? No. Okay. I guess we're all set. Mark, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Let's move on. I'm going to turn this over to Deputy Mayor Zampano. It's discussion on start date for the ad hoc design and review committee, and Deputy Mayor has a few things to add to that. Tommy, you want to take over?
Yeah, the only thing I have to add to that is, discussion on a start date for the ad hoc. I was thinking about it today, and I threw together, steps to define the scope of a project. I mean, these are important. These are important things that we're trying to do, and I think it would be important for the committee to put together a scope of the project so that things are definitive, questions can be answered, and then presented accordingly. It's just a suggestion, and I send it to all the council members. Last minute, I put it together, and this is no secret type thing. It's just a scope of a project, 6 steps. Could be 7, could be 8. It's up to the committee to define it. So I didn't know if any other counselors had any objections to that, or comments, or suggestions, or whatever.
Tom, I have a question. When you say identify the project needs, are you talking about what's wrong with the current facility?
Yeah, I mean, because why are you, part of when you're doing a project, why are you even doing it, right? So,
right. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the objectives and goals would be what you're trying to do to alleviate those? Yeah,
what you're trying to achieve. Yep. It's pretty basic. It's just, but unless you have a guideline, then I just thought this project's way too important not to have that. But that's my opinion.
Tom, this is Mike.
I appreciate the fact that you sent that out.
Yeah.
Mike, can I speak quick?
Yeah, hang on, Scott. Tom, I could just ask you, would you like me to put that up to share?
Sure, that's fine. That's fine. It's just a boilerplate type thing, so it's not Okay. You can put it up.
Yeah, why don't you do that, Mike?
All right, give me 1 second. I got to find that one.
Okay.
Mike, can I just interject here with that?
You have got to go through the chair, Scott.
Bob, can I just make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we spent $50,000 on a feasibility study, which is a documented, detailed description of why we even brought this project forward. So we already have that.
Oh, okay. So the ad hoc committee doesn't need anything?
No, well, they would take that feasibility study and use that as their reference. That clearly details everything as to why we spent that money to consider options and why we're even looking at this project. So it's all well detailed right in that project.
Right. That's up to the council to decide how they want to do it. It's just a suggestion. So that's where the other council members, that's all I was trying to do, was create a suggestion because I thought it's important.
Absolutely, it's part of that process. But we have we have completed that. That was the genesis of everything getting started with even evaluating the potential for a new building.
Mr. Mayor, it's Ron. Can I just jump in for a second?
Okay, you got the floor.
Okay, I think the superintendent's missing something, that this ad hoc committee is not just for the high school. This
No,
ad
I'm
hoc
aware of that.
committee's for a bunch of, yeah, just let me finish, thanks. It's for a bunch of different projects, and it's just to give them scope and guidelines of what their responsibilities are when looking into these projects. It's not project specific. So this scope or these guidelines would be put in place, and it would give them that specific scope for each individual project.
No, I'm well aware of that, and that it is for any building in the town. What I'm saying is we've completed that. So I'm saying to you, you already have that working document that you can work from. That's already been completed for that project specific to the high school.
Okay.
Right. Bob,
Thank you, Scott.
Bob, 1 second.
Good.
The ad hoc committee was our idea of the intermediate school project and the auditorium project, just to get those
right for the ceiling. Absolutely,
yes.
I'm aware of that. I just didn't want you to go and put energy or effort into something that's already done, and we have that feasibility study at our fingertips. And
the high school's a little ways down the road, but that's why we need that ad hoc committee as soon as possible started. So
we have our board members were voted on Thursday, so our person and alternate are already on board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Go ahead, Rose.
Mr. Mayor, can I just jump in for a minute? I just have a question. I just have a question for the superintendent. I know they were going to start the environmental study or the borings. Have they completed that yet?
They were going on this week, and I believe they will be done, I believe on Monday, but both the environmental and the boring have been definitely started, and I can find out where they're at. I know they were out there this past week drilling in that area.
Because I know that'll be an important piece for the ad hoc committee to find out exactly if that's a good spot or if we have to look at something else.
No, those will be done, especially the borings will be done by Monday of next week. I think the engineering test takes 2 to 3 weeks, and that started a week ago, so I'm guessing another week on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Tom, you have anything else?
Yeah.
No, I have nothing.
I'll make a motion that we start the ad hoc committee effective tomorrow.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilor Duty, seconded by Councilor Paternoster. Any discussion?
Just Mike here. So I can pull the members, I guess, in terms of trying not to be in conflict with other boards, commissions. I know who those are, so I can pull them and see what dates and times they prefer.
Okay, that'll be good.
So we're putting the, Bob, can I have the floor for a second?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Discussion. So we're putting the ad hoc committee together to start on what, and to do what, and to accomplish what.
I look at the intermediate school, brickwork and flashing, and it's got to look at this brick repair and sealing of the auditorium. And then as the high school gets further down the road, they could probably, look at that.
The auditorium, though, I thought that bid was awarded.
Yeah, it is, but they still got to look at it. We want them like an overseer ad hoc group to look and to oversee.
Bob, can I have the floor? It's Walt Goad.
Not a
Good, Walt.
I thought this committee was to look at all projects in the town before they were started, some of them.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
You don't even have plans for the high school. You have nothing yet. You just have.
I'm not talking about the high school. I'm just talking about projects in general.
Yeah, as soon as the council could steer whatever they want to the ad hoc committee. But the ad hoc committee can't go and jump on something without the council steering it to them. This way you don't have a rogue board out there, looking at anything down the street. It's whatever the council sends to the ad hoc committee, that's what they should.
Everybody in agreement?
That's my feeling.
So as of right now, what is the first thing they're looking at then? What is the first thing what is the plan? What is the first thing?
First thing is going to be the auditorium. That's what the bid's been approved for. They could look at those plans and make sure they're right. I mean, all we have is an architect's rendering of what should be done there. And then the next is intermediate school. The flashing, there's mold behind the brick. What has to be done there? We pulled that bid back so they could look at that. Al's been down there with with Franny and with the school Bill Chody. So that has to be looked at too. So those are the two projects that the ad hoc committee could start on tomorrow.
I think, Mike, everything we're discussing kind of backs up Tom's paper that he put together. It's just to put some sort of scope together for them. It doesn't have to be anything really involved, but basically, along the lines of reviewing plans before bids are awarded, identifying potential problems, and then supervising the project to make sure things are done correctly. I know with the middle school, the flashing and the gutters were an issue. And I think the ad hoc committee, correct me if I'm wrong, was put together in hopes of avoiding something like that in the future. And then I had also mentioned to Tom, maybe as a project is moving along and going and being completed, the ad hoc committee could visit the site and make sure that things are going as planned and things are working well. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, let the council know what's going on.
As far, Ron, and Mike, as far as, putting a scope together, that's up to the project committee for whatever project they're working on, whatever project they were given, then they need to put some sort of scope together so they know what their goal is, why they're doing something, what they're trying to achieve, and how they're going to report it back, to the council or to whoever they have to report it back to. It would be a document that they can modify. That was just a suggestion I put out, and maybe I titled it high school, and maybe that wasn't incorrect, but that wasn't the intent. The intent was when they're doing a project, you have a path to follow. There's nothing more than that.
Okay, any other discussion?
Bob, if I could, just one comment. As we talk about not only the design and review committee and what projects they're going to look at, we've just gone through the whole bonding process in terms of looking at bonding numbers. At some point, the council, would have to authorize a project to go forward, as Mike said, and just for the record, none of those have reached that final stage where the council says, yes, we're going to do that. So that's another thing down the road on an agenda that the council will have to wrestle with in terms of formally making a motion to proceed and authorize any project.
Okay.
Just in case, people think that this is already a done deal, it's not.
It's not. Okay. All right. This ad hoc committee, Michael, they answer to you? They come to us?
No, they would be, and they're an ad hoc that I can staff and we'll get a clerk to report out. We'll add that to as a report like any other board and commission, I guess.
Okay.
If that's the wish of the council, we can have that as a monthly report.
Well, it sounds all right to me. How about everybody else?
Yeah, that's good.
All right?
Works.
Mike? Yeah.
Works.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
That was good.
Me too. Okay. Any other discussion? Next, I need a motion for an adjournment.
Weren't we voting on something?
Motion.
I'm
Do we need
sorry.
to vote on Mike's motion?
No, we didn't vote on them.
Oh, that's right, for tomorrow. To start the committee tomorrow?
Correct.
Okay, do I get a motion?
So the motion was made by Counselor Judy, seconded by Counselor Paternoster,
Okay,
to have the ad hoc committee begin tomorrow, May 27th, 2020.
okay, is there any other discussion?
Yeah, sorry, Bob, if I could, Mike, you mean start tomorrow as soon as possible?
Well, a start date or as soon as possible. I mean,
Right, gotcha.
they got to call their first meeting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then establish themselves. They got to pick a chairman, vice chairman, whatever they're going to do. And then that was it. And then later down the road, we'll see if we should send any RFPs or FQs, or wait till, that comes in for the ad hoc committee to review.
Right.
Okay. Any other discussion? Michelle, can we have a call for a vote, please?
Is all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone like to abstain? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now I'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Michelle, did you get that?
I got Judy. Was it Counselor Judy?
Yeah, and I think Councilor Fornan.
And Counselor Fornan. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Take care.
Good night.
Thank you.